The story of Tyler James Robinson, assassin of Charlie Kirk. On the evening of September 10, 2025, the United States was shaken by an event that captured headlines across the nation and beyond. Charlie Kirk, a conservative political activist and founder of Turning Point USA, was delivering a speech in Orem, Utah. As he addressed the crowd, a single gunshot rang out. In an instant, Kirk fell lifeless and panic swept through the hall. The gunman had carefully positioned himself on a rooftop with a bolt-action rifle, and with one pull of the trigger, America lost one of its most polarizing political figures. The man accused of this assassination is 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson. For many Americans, his name was completely unknown until that fateful night. But in the days that followed, investigators uncovered the story of a young man who, by all appearances, lived an ordinary life, yet whose hidden frustrations and radical views transformed him into an assassin. Tyler Robinson was born in Utah in 2003. Raised in a Mormon family, he grew up in the quiet neighborhoods of the state, far from the spotlight of national politics. Friends and classmates described him as polite, intelligent, and reserved. He attended Pineview High School and later enrolled at Utah State University, though he eventually dropped out. Instead, Robinson pursued vocational training at Dixie Technical College, studying to become an electrician through an apprenticeship program. His path seemed ordinary, even hopeful. He had no criminal record, no violent background, and no public signs that suggested he might one day commit an act of political violence. But beneath the surface, there were struggles. Robinson's relationship with his family was complicated, particularly as debates around social issues grew louder in America. He expressed frustration about the political climate, especially concerning LGBTQ rights and conservative figures. According to investigators, he began spending increasing amounts of time online, in forums and private chat groups where political arguments and conspiracy theories were common. His friends noticed that he became more distant and more vocal about his disdain for conservative leaders. Among them, Charlie Kirk stood out as someone Robinson viewed as spreading too much hate. The transformation of Tyler Robinson from a quiet young man into an obsessed political extremist was gradual but unmistakable. In private writings later discovered by police, he expressed anger at the direction of the country. In online chat logs, he hinted at violent ideas, though many dismissed his words as meaningless venting. But investigators believe these were not idle thoughts. They were the early signs of a plan that would eventually take form. In the months leading up to the assassination, Robinson began preparing. Notes found in his possession contained details about possible targets, weapon use, and timing. He practiced with a bolt-action rifle, a weapon that, according to reports, had been gifted to him by his family. What seemed like a harmless present would later become the tool of a national tragedy. Robinson carefully studied Charlie Kirk's schedule and noticed that Kirk's American Comeback Tour would bring him to Utah Valley University in September 2025. It was the perfect opportunity, a high-profile event, a predictable stage setup, and a public figure he despised. On the evening of September 10th, Robinson put his plan into action. He carried his rifle onto a rooftop overlooking the university. From nearly 200 yards away, he had a clear line of sight. At 7:45 in the evening, as Charlie Kirk spoke to a crowd of students and supporters, Robinson took aim and fired. One shot was all it took. The bullet struck Kirk and ended his life instantly. The audience screamed, some dropped to the floor, others ran for the exits. The scene was chaos. And in that moment, Robinson slipped away, leaving behind confusion, fear, and a nation in shock. A massive manhunt followed. For 33 hours, federal and local law enforcement worked tirelessly to locate the suspect. Images captured by surveillance cameras were released by the FBI. It was his own family who recognized him. His father alerted church leaders in the Mormon community, who in turn contacted authorities. This connection eventually led to Robinson's arrest. When police searched his belongings, they found overwhelming evidence linking him to the crime. DNA on the rifle matched his. Equipment left at the rooftop carried his fingerprints, and handwritten notes outlined his intentions. In custody, Robinson was described as emotionless. During his first court appearance, he wore a suicide prevention smock and showed little reaction. Prosecutors charged him with aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, illegal discharge of a firearm, witness tampering, and committing a violent offense in the presence of children. The charges are severe, but so too is the punishment prosecutors are seeking. The state of Utah has already announced its intention to pursue the death penalty. For his family, the arrest was devastating. They described him as a son who once had promise, a young man who had taken a dark and unexpected path. His romantic partner, who lived with him, cooperated with investigators and provided shot logs that revealed Robinson's growing anger and obsession in the weeks before the shooting. Those who knew him are left struggling to understand how a quiet boy from a religious household could become the man accused of killing one of America's most prominent conservative voices. The case of Tyler James Robinson is not just about one man's crime. It's about the dangerous intersection of politics, division, and radicalization in the United States. Charlie Kirk's assassination has become a symbol of how polarized the nation has become. Supporters of Kirk see the murder as proof that hatred towards conservatives has reached deadly extremes. Others view Robinson as an example of what happens when anger and isolation consume a person's life. Regardless of perspective, the fact remains: one bullet turned America's divisions into tragedy. As Robinson awaits trial, the questions remain. How did an ordinary 22-year-old with no violent history become an assassin? Was it ideology, mental instability, or the toxic influence of online communities? The answers are complex, but the consequences are simple and final. On September 10th, 2025, a man who once dreamed of becoming an electrician instead became known as the assassin of Charlie Kirk. His name, Tyler James Robinson, will forever be tied to a crime that stunned the world. And so America is left to reflect. If an ordinary young man can descend into extremism, how many more like him exist in the shadows? What happened in Utah was not just the end of a life, but a warning of how fragile democracy and civil discourse can be.